speaking of Purdy, I think it's interesting after the fallout of the Super Bowl that people have now combed through every little moment. His stock went up. He's the one
Yeah.
guy on this offense who really acquitted himself well, to use a Jim Harbaugh'ism. Things were falling apart all around him. He maintained his composure, didn't make any big mistakes, and made a few nice plays. His stock is up.
Yeah. He's a good quarterback. And I have
He is.
something I want to admit. Immediately after the game, in the heat of the loss, I wrote that he's not in the same universe as Mahomes. I wrote it on Twitter. Now, look, I think he probably isn't. I don't think anyone in the league is, but it was a snotty thing to say. And in retrospect, thinking back over the game, all hell was breaking loose around Purdy because Kyle was not adequately protecting him at all.
No.
And he functioned very well. Iggy, you said you had given him a B, but in retrospect, it might be a B plus or an A minus.
Yeah, when I was watching the game, it didn't sink in just how much pressure he was under that wasn't necessarily his fault. And going back and watching it, yeah, it seemed like, given the fact that Kyle was kept calling plays for Debo and not picking up these blitzes, just the fact that Brock Purdy avoided so many sacks and didn't turn the ball over and made some plays. Yeah, very impressive. More like an A minus.
Yeah.
More like an A minus.
Again, I want to say, I don't think going forward with this group, it's Brock Purdy who would hold them back from winning a Super Bowl. I think it's Shanahan. I think a good coach could win a Super Bowl with Brock Purdy. He's really a good quarterback.
He's a very good quarterback.
Yeah, I think his foot is on the gas. I think Shanahan's foot's on the brake. And I think he's more of an impediment than Purdy, who's no impediment at all.
No,
I admire Brock Purdy.
He couldn't overcome Kyle Shanahan and win in spite of him, but he didn't sync with Kyle because Kyle's stock is very much down. Purdy's isn't. And what I think a big reason for that too is not just what happened during the game, but after. Since then, Brock Purdy, 24-year-old Brock, has been a model of leadership. Every time he's in front of a microphone, he says, we just went 3 and out too much in the third quarter, and that's on me. I can't let that happen. And it's not like confessional or taking you play by play and feel like, man, I'm really lost my confidence. I blew it. It's like, no, I'm the leader of this team. We didn't play well enough on offense. I'm going to assert my leadership by taking responsibility for this stuff. And it's what Kyle Shanahan never does, hasn't do, won't do, for whatever reason.
Can't do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine what some of the players privately in the locker room think. Coach never takes responsibility.
No.
He's fine.
Our quarterback does.
The players are no good, but the quarterback says, it's on me. I shouldn't have gone 3 and out 3 times. And so let me just say this. The quarterback who's 24 acted more like a coach than the coach who's in his 40s.
Right. And so now what's interesting, for years, Kyle always could point the finger at Jimmy, who was always trying to point the finger at Kyle. And the two of them were kind of perfect for each other in their unwillingness to take responsibility. But now he has someone who's like a counterpoint to him. He's unlike Jimmy. He takes it very serious. He's very professional. He's a natural leader. And I think the contrast between him and Kyle is only going to make Kyle look worse until Kyle changes.
Iggy, I don't ever really want to go to football games anymore or cover this stuff, but I would love to cover Brock Purdy. I would love to see the arc of his career. He's intriguing and he's really good. He's really good. And he seems like a really good guy who takes his business seriously. Iggy, we're leaving out a topic.
What?
George Kittle.
Yes.
We are. And this ties into the very thing we started with, things that Kyle should be asked. This is something Kittle should be asked, or someone in the local newspapers should write about. And if they have written about it, I apologize. I haven't seen it. So, Iggy, tell what happened.
Well, we talked about it on our emergency code zone last week, but if you didn't see, George Kittle, first drive of the game, McCaffrey fumbles, and George Kittle instead of blocking his man, George Karlaftis sort of lets up and says, "Hi, George." And George doesn't respond. He dives on the ball and gets it. That's the play. Kittle said, "Hi, George."
So instead of playing to the whistle,
yeah,
Kittle is being cute.
Cute.
This is the Super Bowl. Now, I got to tell you, come back to Bill Walsh. Hey, coach, I got it. You know, they were mic'd up, and when CMC dropped the ball for us, Kittle said, "Hi, George," to George Karlaftis, didn't block him, and someone else was able, and Karlaftis was able to get the ball. Send him to Buffalo. I don't want him here anymore. I don't want a player like that.
Yeah.
I don't want that. That may, you know, Russ Francis would have got the ball. Charlie Young would have got the ball.
Yeah.
Brent Jones would have got the ball. Are you kidding? They would have stood there and said, "Hi, George." This isn't high school football. This was the goddamn Super Bowl. So here's the other thing. Where's the article about that? Where is someone calling up, you know, calling up Kittle and say, "What do you have to say about that, George?"
Yeah.
Where is someone asking Kyle, "What do you have to say about that, Kyle?"
Yeah.
That when your running back drops the ball, this guy's saying, "Hi, George," and George is the one who recovers. That's very bad. It's not a little bad. It's like, oh, Lowell, he's such a hater. That's very bad. And I'm going to say something else. Two bad things happened on that play. McCaffrey fumbled, and this guy said, "Hi, George." Which is worse? Hi, George.
Hi, George.
People fumble. McCaffrey is a terrific player. He's a real professional. He's not a fumbler. It must have killed him that he fumbled, and his guy didn't have his back. His guy could have made it right, and he would have been eternally grateful. And this guy's playing games and saying, "Hi, George," while George is diving for the ball and getting McCaffrey's fumble. I blame Kittle more than I blame McCaffrey, because fumbles happen. But "Hi, George" is never supposed to happen.
No.
Where is the article about that?
It's the difference between a mental mistake and a physical mistake.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can
excuse a physical mistake, but a mental mistake in that moment, not when you're 30, not when you're an all-pro tight end.
Right.
Sorry.
You know, Iggy, it's even worse than a mental mistake. It's a character mistake.
Yeah.
I understand in baseball, you throw to the wrong base.
You forget how many outs there are.
You forget how many outs. You don't say, "What kind of person is that?" But when Kittle is in the Super Bowl and every inch, every second matters, and he says, "Hi, George," that's not a mental mistake. That's way beyond that.
It's a character flaw.
I think so. And I'm saying, I think he's a good guy, but how the hell did he do that?
It's funny, you know, one of the greatest tight ends in franchise history. He's been in 2 Super Bowls. This one he had 2 catches for 4 yards. The last one he had 4 catches for 36 yards.
Well, he's declining. That's why Bill would get rid of him. And the first one wasn't so great either.
He had 40 yards in 2 Super Bowls. Yeah. I think it's time. I think the George Kittle era is over. He's quite charming, though, and maybe he could take that personality to WWE, where you have a microphone in the ring with you and people can hear you what you're saying.
And you could say,
you know what it seemed like? It seemed like he knew he was mic'd up and he wanted to do something, like he wanted to play it up for that. Like, focus on the game.
I think you're supposed to be focusing until they blow the whistle. You're playing.
You're playing.
You're playing.